In 1905, the Salton Sea formed accidentally due to a break in an irrigation canal. The resulting lake created a vibrant ecosystem of wildlife and people. But today, the balance of this ecosystem is threatened by change. One major change is the lake's receding water level. Tom Anderson from the Sonny Bono Salton Sea National Wildlife Refuge explains this change.
So here we are at the edge of the Salton Sea. About 10 years ago, the lake level was 5 feet higher. And during that time, the waves would crash against these rocks here. This is a large chunk of obsidian. It's completely encrusted with salt. A lot of it's falling off now. But over the next 30 years, this shoreline will recede another 2 miles in that direction because the lake will continue to drop. There's less water coming to the Salton Sea, partially because of water conservation, but also because of water transfers. There's been a transfer of water from agricultural to urban areas, and all these areas rely on Colorado River water.
These water transfers have contributed to the salty conditions of the lake.
The Salton Sea is a terminal basin lake. It has water flowing in, but the only water going out is through evaporation. So the inflowing waters bring many things, including a lot of salt, and that salt just builds up over time.
Rising salinity now threatens key wildlife populations. Of the numerous species of fish in the lake, some originated from the Colorado River, others were stocked to support the community's demand for game fishing. But most of the fish can no longer survive in the lake's extremely salty water. Today, only tilapia and some desert pupfish remain. But the rising salinity is not the only change in the sea's chemistry. Water used for farming runs off into the Alamo River. It's one of the few rivers that feed the sea, bringing fertilizer and pesticides that strongly affect the sea's water quality.
Here we are at a typical agricultural drain in the Imperial Valley. Water flows down this drain and into the Salton Sea. And right here we have a field being irrigated, water's flowing off the field and gets lifted up at this pumping station into the drain.
We are now underwater. The fertilizer in farm runoff contains nutrients, which boost the growth of algae in the water. This process is called eutrophication. Over time, algae dies and sinks to the bottom. Bacteria decomposes the algae, creating oxygen-deprived water filled with hydrogen sulfide, which smells like rotting eggs. Wind and cold weather periodically stir the water, churning up the oxygen-poor water from the bottom. This is what leads to fish die-off and strong odor. In the past, fish have had no problem reproducing in the aftermath of a die-off. But now that the sea is so salty, there is increasing evidence that fish are having trouble reproducing. The decline in fish have affected the bird populations. In response, government agencies are creating bird and fish habitats, like this one. The high salinity is making life below the surface difficult. As for life above the surface, evaporating water could affect communities as more dust is being exposed. This map shows how the water is predicted to decrease over the next 10 years.
As the lake shrinks, it's going to expose a lot of lake bottom, which has a lot of fine sediments, a lot of contaminants that have accumulated over the past 100 years. And all that can be picked up by the winds and just dispersed over this area. And currently, Imperial County has much higher childhood asthma rates than anywhere else in California.
To learn more about how the changes at the Salton Sea are affecting people in the community, check out our story about dust.